Hey everybody, this is the Success Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Johnson. Thank you so much for all those that have been rocking with us over the past 3 seasons. Again, we're now in season number 4. This is episode number 2. I hope you got a lot of great information from episode 1 as we re-introed and kicked off this new season. I'm looking forward to a lot of the great conversations that we're going to have. As a matter of fact, today I've got an awesome wonderful conversation that I had with a good friend of mine, Mr. Mark Robinson. Now, he's an external affairs manager for Swepco. If you live in Longview, in most of East Texas, most of us have Swepco as our electric provider. So today I wanted to have somebody on that could give some insight into how things work. And then also, if you stick around through this interview, you're also going to see a great way for you to save some money and the way that Swepco will come out and help you in saving some money and helping you prepare your home. Stick around for that information. I think you're going to have a ton of laughs. I think you're going to have a really good time with this interview. Mark is not a shy person. He describes himself as more introverted, but when he's out doing his job and doing what he's called to do, he is bubbly and wonderful. So with no further ado, we're going to get into the second episode of the Success Estate Podcast with Mark Robinson. Thank y'all for this video. This is the Success Estate Podcast. My name is Mike Johnson, and I am with Coldwell Banker Linhart Properties right here in Longview, but serving all of East Texas. Today, I've got a great guest with me. We're, again, in season 4. And today I've got a good friend of mine, Mark Robinson.
What's up, man? How are you? You know that's not how we're supposed to shake hands. Remember that?
Oh, yeah. We're supposed to be more Spartan style.
That's right. We're Spartans, baby.
There we go. Warriors. Which is funny. You know, Mark, I'm really glad to have you on because, you're somebody that I get a chance to battle with, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's not a lot of – I used to think that I was tall.
Right.
And then I went to junior college and I found out there's a lot of tall people out there. I'm not one of them. But around here, I'm considered tall.
Yeah, you're still pretty tall.
So the people y'all probably don't know, but me and Mark, we met playing basketball.
That's exactly right.
I'm one of the taller. Mark is always the tallest out there. Well, generally. I think I've
Generally,
only seen one
a couple
other time
times
where you were
yeah.
not the tallest. And so I'm probably the second tallest, and then we got to
I get big man complex, though. I was like, I could take him. Because it's pretty unusual for me to guard somebody bigger than me. I got him. Give me that guy.
Exactly. I remember Dusty. I played against Dusty Evers in college. He played with Laterno. I played for UT Tyler. And when he came in, I was like, oh, yeah, finally. Somebody taller than Mark in here,
Yeah, that was a rough day for me.
Yeah, exactly. That guy, he's still really good.
Yeah.
People, I started off playing the post. So I was taller than everybody when I started playing basketball. And then everybody caught up with me, so I had to change and move to a guard position. And eventually got to college and played the point guard position. And, so it's been kind of a journey for me, but I like it because now I get a chance to get out. And so I'm not inexperienced when it comes to, like, guarding a post player. Things like that.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I actually want to present a challenge for you.
Oh, no. Okay. Let's go. Yeah, well, I mean, that's what I see and what I've said to many people is you could tell a lot about a person by the way they play basketball. I mean, you could tell life, how they are with teammates, how often they call fouls, how often, they don't call fouls, how aggressive they are, how laid back they are. And so, I mean, I feel like you said, we met playing basketball, but I know a lot more about you in life because of how you play basketball, and I respect you for it.
Likewise.
So that's
likewise. Now, did you play in school or?
No, man. I went to a small Christian school in Corpus Christi. Actually, both of my parents were Christian school teachers.
Gotcha.
And so I went to this. I'll give you a little segment here. I was the graduating class of 2001 at my Christian school. It was me. I was valedictorian.
Most likely. You had it. And you were valedictorian and
least likely to succeed. I was it,
You
man.
were all in one.
New Hope Baptist Academy.
You were the prom king. You were everything.
It was man. It was a small school. Probably had 40, 50 students, but that year I was the only senior. It was tough, man. But Yeah.
So how many kids? You said 40, 50 students?
There's probably 40 or 50, but it was K through 12, right? And so there was a couple kids in every grade, and did like an online curriculum or a video curriculum back then.
Yeah.
So,
how was it? I mean, as far as your graduation, what did y'all end up doing for your graduation?
Well, so it was part of a church. So it was a Christian school that was associated with the church. So they just tied it in with like a Wednesday night service. It's like after
Bible study,
after the baptisms. Oh yeah, we got one more thing. Mark's gonna graduate. No, man, I had the whole cap and gown.
Yeah.
My cake had a picture of me dunking
it. With the cap and gown on.
Yeah.
Hey, I can't see the whiteboard.
Yeah. The flannelgram.
Right, yeah. That's it. Oh, my God.
You're right. You don't keep to the script at all, Mike. This thing's going to go off of the rails. But we're going to have fun, though.
Yeah, we're going to make it some kind of way to the end of this. Man, I appreciate it for one, because I knew when I asked you to come on, you said yes. I said this is going to be easy.
Yeah.
Because man, people that are around you probably recognize how funny you are. I think when you start playing and everything, you can't really tell a person's personality. We get those small little bits in between games.
Yeah,
but man, over the years, I said, oh man, Mark's got the jokes. He's got. I mean, you talk to so many people. You can hold yourself in any conversation, man. So I was, for one, I'm privileged. I feel privileged to have you on.
Yeah, all things to all men, right, Mike? I mean, you got to be. Man, how do you do that right? I mean, how do you make sure that whether you're talking to, so last week I got to spend some time with Congressman Moran right across the street, actually over here at Lewis Morgan, number 4 and tour. And how do I spend time with him? And then when we go play ball, right? That's a little bit different.
Sure.
But without being pretentious, without trying to be I'm a different human being. And so making sure that it doesn't matter, as long as you are who you are in each and every situation, and you're representing God right, and you're representing each other right. Sure. That's what it's about, man.
And I greatly appreciate it. You're somebody that, I mean, like I said, I don't know that we've had a lot of like in-depth personal conversation.
We really haven't.
But there's some things that you can pick up from people. I don't know if it's a discernment type of thing or what, but there's sometimes you can pick up from people like, okay, this person is solid. I feel like I can trust this person because they're not trying to put on when I see. There are some people that just, you can tell, oh man, you're laying it on for your 100%. And then there's other people that you can see the genuineness in.
You know what the problem is with putting things on? You got to remember. My memory is not good enough.
And then all of a sudden you created a standard in somebody else's mind for who you are.
No.
And you may not even remember it, or you may not actually be able to live up to who you're creating.
100%. Yeah.
And I was just like, I can't do that. So my wife, she gets on to me, and I'm trying to do a little bit better, like even how I dress. So you need to.
I think every wife is working on that with their husband.
Every good thing. Every time somebody compliments
yours
me,
too. Yeah,
this looks good, man. That looks good. What you have on, man. My wife picked it out. Everything that I pick out never gets any compliments. But I had to tell. I was like, listen, if I go out and I'm in a suit all the time, nothing. I love suits.
Right.
I just don't. I get hot. I get uncomfortable.
100.
I get uncomfortable. I get cranky. Then I'm not good to be around. If I go out there with these suits every day, I'm going to create a false expectation for everybody.
And there's nowhere to go up.
There's nowhere to go.
Like, what are you going to do?
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
That's all you have to go to.
Exactly. So, I think I do think it's important. Being all things to all men is super important. I found it actually like it's a part of my business. Now, you saying that, because I do feel like I feel like I'm adjustable. I can adjust. Some people are pretty rigid in who they are.
Sure.
And I can understand that. There's not anything wrong with it. But at the same time, my calling, I believe, is not just I tell everybody, I'm not just here to sell you a house. I don't feel like a salesman at all. Right. I'm actually more of an agent and a friend. I want to be an accountability partner for you, all those different things, so that I can help you get to a dream of yours or a goal of yours, which is pretty much a human right. this is a human right for you to have someplace
safe
to
housing,
live.
clean,
Safe
yeah,
house.
yeah, absolutely.
And if it's home ownership that you desire, then I want to help facilitate that. I used to sell other things, and I got let go one place, and I could just feel myself. Anytime it was sales, I was like, I just don't like this.
Right.
But then in this, even though yes, I am a sales agent, it doesn't feel like sales anymore.
Because so you're making friends more than you are selling a product, right?
Exactly.
And it's something that you believe in too, right? You could hear it in your voice. You can hear it when you say, hey, everybody needs a home. Everybody needs a place for their babies to sleep. Everybody needs a place for, to think about what a home means to you. It's not just a house. It's not just a structure. Man, like you go back to where you grew up. We went back to Corpus, my brother and sister and I went back to Corpus Christi several years ago when our former pastor passed away, and we went to our old neighborhood. Man, the house we lived in.
You talking about the dean of the school?
Yeah, the dean of the school, superintendent. You know what I'm doing. And we went by our old house, and it was like, man, the memories. And we looked at the house. Honestly, it was not. I mean, we were poor. Like it wasn't one of those we didn't know we were poor. We knew it.
Right.
Christian school teachers don't get paid a whole lot. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And so we went by and
offerings.
Yeah. They take that out automatically, man. You don't have to give them. It's just deducted right from your gross. Oh, you thought that was a joke? That's cute. But
it really happened.
You get sidetracked me, bro.
I'm sorry.
So we went to our old neighborhood, and you know what? It wasn't a great place. Right, literally, there's a strip club at the end of the. I mean, that's where we lived, right? So, but like. It was the memories. It wasn't like how we didn't talk about how junky it was. We talked about like, man, remember this, and remember when I threw a fishing pole into your leg there in the front yard. Remember when I shot you with the paintball. A lot of pain in our family. Remember chasing each other around the yard. Remember that when we built a fort in that tree back there. I mean, you're not just selling a widget or a gizmo or here's something that you can do your hair with or something that you can look good in. This is where you're going to make memories for your family. This is where you're going to build humans. This is where you're going to build your family. So I can see how that's different than selling pretty much anything.
There's definitely an instant emotional attachment for the journey, especially nowadays. A lot of people are they're having a tough time.
Absolutely.
Buying homes and things like that. And so when they get to that place of home ownership, there's like instant memories along the way, and then they start to establish new ones after they're able to breathe. Oh, hey, I got through the process. I have a place, So I always want to be like I said, I just want to be a catalyst in helping their dreams come true. If that's a dream of theirs. Like you said, we grew up north of Longview. And the only thing now is that my parents have changed the house completely.
Okay.
So I'm like,
so they still live in the house you grew up in?
They still live there.
Nice.
It's family land. My great grandfather bought, and they separated over the years. My dad's one of the grandchildren that decided to stay.
Okay.
But the way they built their house, everything was completely different from the way I purchased it. But at the center of it all, I just remember being at home with my mom when I was young, single income family. I remember we didn't have a whole lot. We had a TV with that we had to change the channels with catfish skinners. Yeah, it was we had catfish skinners.
The little button would come out.
I don't know what happened to the knob, but it was gone, and we couldn't replace it. So all those things, like I remember that, and it really sticks out in my mind because even though it wasn't a lot, oh man, it was secure.
It made you thankful for what you had.
Sure.
And as a child, we don't think about what we don't have. When you get into your later teenage years,
that's really kind of beautiful. That ignorance is
that's the way God designed us. Is like you don't remember the first 4 years of your life, and you're thankful because there's a lot of things you see in here, and you get dropped on your head or whatever. You don't remember any of that.
I'm glad my sons won't remember. My oldest especially, he fell off the bed quite a bit.
I met your boys. They're awesome, man. Yeah. But there are times like I'm so thankful they're not going to remember. But even like phase up through like I think we're built to just look for the good initially, and then as we get into teenagers, start developing that perception, right? And that's why, look, teenagers are the most perceptive people in the entire world, because I think we start losing it after that, right? Because we get inundated with kind of the mundane work and college. But man, they're finding that difference between I'm just looking at everything through kind of rose-colored glasses and everything's good to, oh wow, life is really starting to happen, right? And so, man, from that 13 to 18, at least the kids in my church, they know if you're fake, they know if you're real, they know they can call you out, and they won't. But they can.
Yeah.
You go up to one that you have a relationship with, all right, show me who's fake and who's real in this place.
Sure.
And they'll point them out all day long.
I think we both share the same faith, and a lot of people talk a lot about, especially here in what's considered the Bible Belt. We're seeing kind of a change and a shift. I think that, culturally we're kind of showing in the churches. We're kind of showing some of the signs of things not being taken care of when they should have been taken care of. Like you said, people, especially kids, they can see. So I'm a PK. And
are you really?
Yeah, man.
Dude, how did I not know that?
My dad has been pastoring for almost 25 years now. And
that explains a lot, actually.
Yeah. I do know the stigma that comes with being a PK, and I was like, oh.
I'm a principal's kid. Does that count? Is that the other PK?
Oh man, teacher's kid, principal's kid, everybody's kid. Well, man, I just remember, seeing some things in the church and being like, oh, okay, this is not. I see what y'all saying in here, but I see what you're doing as soon as you get outside. Right. And so a lot of discussions that I have with people about our youth, those that are up and coming. And it's, man, these kids are different these days. I said, you do know that that's an indictment on your generation.
Right.
If you're looking back at the other the generation coming behind you and saying they're not the same, it's because you didn't teach them. Kids don't. Frank Martin, Kansas State, he said, when kids don't know anything, they don't know anything until you teach them. And so what you're seeing really is a reflection of who you have been as a generation, as a culture and a people. This is what you've been in front of them, and they're just following suit and taking it a little bit farther.
Yeah, it's interesting to watch generations, right? Because, you had your World War II generation, your baby boomers, and then your peace and love, and then you had, different, and we got Gen X and, millennials that are now raising kids. And it's interesting to see that each one of them built one strong point into their children as a generation, but then that strength becomes a weakness in the next generation, right? And so, I was talking with one of my friends about this the other day. I said, what is the weakness that we're currently building into this generation, our children? You're my children. Like what are we building? And I think it's the lack of expectations on them. I think it's not giving them hard things to do, right? And there's the whole, my grandfather had a Camel, my father had a Honda, I've got a Mercedes, my son will have a Honda, and my grandson will have a Camel. It's one of those, hard times make hard men. Yeah. And then peaceful times make easy men and weak men, right? And so I think that what we need to do is, yes, we want to give our children that, right? We want to give our kids so much,
but really, expect something from them. The problem is that we often want to give our kids something we felt like we didn't have.
We didn't have it,
and so you're living vicariously through them.
100%.
And it's like, wait a minute, like no, if you feel like your parents raised you right, maybe sprinkle in a little bit, but don't overcorrect. My mom, I'll never forget. She taught me. She taught me about driving, and I was coming back from school in Lufkin, and right where 322 and 149 meet, where you turn right there by the Skinners coming towards Longview. I was so glad when she had taught me before. Hey, if you feel yourself starting to slide, get off the gas. Don't hit the brake. Get off the gas. Don't overcorrect. Right. Slow down and let it kind of work itself out some. Keep your hands steady. Don't overcorrect. With my children now, I'm constantly. I was more of a fearful kid.
Sure.
I was more. I'll never forget my favorite dog, Chip. He was a mutt. My dad brought him home.
Purebred mutt.
Purebred mutt. But I was so scared of when he came in the house. I was jumping on the couch, running away from him. And that dog didn't have a mean bone in his body. Right. Couldn't produce any kind of fierceness. Well, I see some of that in my oldest.
Okay.
And I'll feel myself like, really, hey, no, you can't be this person. You can't be this person. You know, it's like, wait
So
a
you're
minute.
kind of
Mike.
overcorrecting
So
a little bit.
overcorrecting
Right.
on him. You know, I'm like, wait a minute, Mike. You don't want to start something in him trying to fix something in you.
Right.
You know, and so it's that's kind of the same thing, I think, for the upcoming generation. Some of it is just like, hey, let's hold tight to some of the things our parents did and taught us.
Right.
Some of it's going to be difficult.
Right.
I do have to tell sometimes when my son participates, like, hey, he's not getting a participation award.
Right.
Like, that's an expectation.
Right.
You don't have a choice.
Sometimes you lose.
Yeah,
sometimes
you lose. Sometimes you're still going to show up.
Yep.
You're still going to do your best. I don't really lose my cool very much, Mark. I almost lost it last year in flag football. Right. I almost lost it last year in flag football. One of our coaches said he wanted to call the game early. Well, he did call the game early. There was like 5 minutes left. We were down by 21. And he said, hey, this okay. We're not going to come back. And I talked to him. I said, hey, man, listen, I don't care about anything else. Do not call this game before it's
There's
over.
always.
If they get their behinds whooped, let them get whooped.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
It's just part of it.
It's a good old quote. It's like, I didn't lose. I just ran out of time.
There it
right?
is,
That's the
there it is.
mentality. It's like, no,
That's
I
exactly
just.
right.
In that case, they didn't even run out
there
of
you go.
time yet.
Right. If they would have given a little more time,
Let the
we would've
boys
come
play.
back.
Let's go.
Exactly. You know. Well, you know what's funny, y'all? All of this, none of this is on of our questions.
Nothing to do with Swepco. Has really nothing to do with.
I guess I should introduce who you are.
Okay, let's go.
So
You can
Mark,
cut out whatever you want to, man. It's going to be a 3-hour podcast.
Right. You give a quick bio on yourself, if you don't mind. Give yourself a quick introduction so I don't mess it up.
Okay, sure. Well, no, you're not going to mess it up. I'm Mark Robinson. I'm an external affairs manager for Swepco, Swepco Southwestern Electric Power Company. We are the electric utility provider for much of East Texas and Northeast Texas, as well as some in Louisiana, Arkansas, and the panhandle of Texas as well.
Okay.
We get a little bit of section over there as well.
Okay.
And so we're in a regulated space. That means that if you live here, we're going to be your provider. And so our job is to, make that as good of an experience for you as we possibly can. If you ever do get a choice at some point, we deregulate. That we served you well enough that you choose us. So it's what's an external affairs manager, right? Because everyone's like, okay, what does that mean?
Right.
You just have to be outside of your office, right? So it's the whole what my mom thinks I do, what my friends think I do. And what I really do, right? My mom thinks I'm a politician. My friends think I golf.
I can see how that perception could come.
Yeah, my friends think I golf all day. Yeah, and
they
really,
don't know you're working when you're doing it.
What I really do is I serve on a lot of boards, which kind of creates that connectivity within our service territory. So mostly Chamber of Commerce boards. So Henderson Chamber of Commerce just rolled off the Kilgore Area Chamber of Commerce, Longview Chamber of Commerce, and then some of their committees like governmental affairs committees, that type of thing, advocacy work, that type for like our business interests. Work with economic development corporations as well for incoming companies and retention, attraction efforts, that type of things is pretty neat stuff. And then with a lot of our nonprofit organizations. So I'm the incoming president for the Greater Longview United Way. Just rolled off a junior achievement, but I'm on all sorts of things. Just started with Martin House, Texas State Technical College on their foundation. It's a list, so I won't bore you with it.
I saw the TSTC one just recently. I saw the article.
Yeah, just got that. Just started. I think our first meeting is actually coming up in October. Our first in-person meeting.
How do you do all of that?
You juggle a lot.
Yeah.
I've when I was a mechanic, I started as a transformer repair person.
Okay.
And so understanding like the transformers that are outside on this pole. We used to tear them apart. I could tell you everything about the inside of it. I could do whatever needed. I could repair it. You get things done, right? You say, I repaired so many transformers this day, or I fixed this coil or this winding or whatever, right?
Yes.
Now it's less about what I got done in the day. Like it's relationships, right? It's like you and me knowing each other. You got my phone number. And so I work with a lot of our elected officials as well as our unelected city, county folks. So from a city council person to county commissioners to public works folks from everywhere from Grand Saline to Wascom, south of Mount Pleasant to Center, Tenaha, Henderson area. That's all mine. So about an hour drive anywhere from here. Gotcha. So if you're an elected official and you don't know me yet, you should. That's my job. I'm not doing my job.
Yeah.
But, when storms roll through, my job is that they have my phone number.
Sure.
They need information. And it could be from the street lights out to this neighborhood's out or the school district's out, whatever it is. It could be, hey, someone's upset with us because of something that you did. Then my job is to go fix that and make sure that we're representing ourselves in our community well.
Got you. I mean, it seems like a weighty responsibility, though. I mean, because you almost sound like a fireman. I'm going to put out fires and help
always
people.
Yeah.
Is there ever, like, let's say like vacation time? Are you able to kind of?
Yeah, vacation, it takes me a few days to kind of get into vacation.
Yeah.
I mean, just like anybody, you're doing your day, and really good advice that I haven't quite gotten good at taking yet, but a guy named Brent up in Michigan, when I worked up there, he said, look, man, you got to take 2-week vacations. He says, it's going to take you 2 days to get into vacation.
Wow.
And 2 days before you get back, you're already thinking about it again, right? You're re-engaging your mind is, and so you've got about 4 or 5 days on either side so to really have a good vacation. He's right. You really feel yourself soaking into that vacation.
Yeah. And then you got to take a vacation from your vacation when you get back.
You got kids too, huh? We just got back from D.C. and my wife and kids had not been there before. And so I've got one wife, 3 kids. Don't get that wrong.
Yeah, there you go.
But Jamie and Brooklyn, Austin,
you don't
and
get that wrong.
No.
Don't worry about us.
Neither of us should really get that wrong. Let's just, we love y'all. The one of you that there is. Help us. But so speaking of kind of overdoing it on vacation, when you go to D.C., it's an amazing place, but it's a different place at night than it is in the day as far as the monuments and statues and stuff. And so I told my kids I was going to do this. Y'all get to bed early tonight because I'm waking you up at 1 o'clock in the morning. Like, what? I was like, yeah, no, you need to experience Washington, D.C. at night. And so we did. I got them up at like 1 o'clock, and we all got in the car, and we drove to the Lincoln Memorial. There's nothing, if you ever go to D.C., for a couple days, I don't know if you've probably been there several times, but if you haven't been there, then when you go, you need to do this 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. It's a weird place. There's going to be a few people hanging out you're keeping an eye on. But we went up to the Lincoln Memorial. It was my family. We went there during the day. It was 300-400 people there.
Wow.
It was us. And, man, there's something surreal about sitting there looking at Lincoln. He's looking back down at you. It feels like, the
like
judgment seat of Christ a little bit. It's like, what you were thinking. But it's an austere moment. But, man, you got to take those vacations. You got to get away. You get people that don't tell you. I was looking at a study. It's been several years ago, but it was from some university, and it said that people that don't take all of their vacation are less productive than people that take all of their vacation.
Wow.
And I thought that was pretty amazing.
That is super. And it makes sense, though. I mean, you need rest periods. You need times where you take a break and be able to just revive yourself. Revive your motivation, your energy. Because I know every time we go on vacation, it's like, oh, wait a minute, I get a chance. If I keep working, we can do this again. If I go out and I do things better, we can have another experience. We can go and do different things. So just being there with my family, just away from, with my family and away from everything else, is a motivation for me to get back. Okay, hey, I'm going to do whatever I need to do for this extended period of time, set a goal for myself. Once we get there, hey, let's celebrate, let's party,
I can't remember the book, but there's an interesting, and maybe it was just an article, but it was a study on Disney, and it was a conversation about moments, and it was a child rearing book, it's a parenting book. It's talking about how do you create spots in their day, right? Because Disney, if you ever go to Disney, it's like you're standing in lines for hours for like a 1.5 minute ride for that experience, right? But you come back and what do you say? Man, I had such a great time.
You're talking me out of Disney.
No.
I've never been. I don't want to go.
Oh, man. Look, you talk to my wife about it. She's the Disney queen. She knows.
Really?
We went with laminated 3x5 cards just in case they got wet. You know what I'm saying? And, man, we got so much done.
I love it.
That's her. That's her. I was like,
I love it.
We'll figure out how to pay for it.
Yeah.
You tell it, you get us around. But when you're talking about parenting, it's about creating moments, even in their day, right? They may not remember the whole day, but they're going to remember when you slipped them that note. They're going to remember like that. Hey, let's go for a quick walk. Mm-hmm. It may take you 5 minutes of your day,
sure,
right? But building that, hey, here's just that little peak in the day. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, they don't remember. You ever get home and like, what'd you do today? I really had no, I didn't do anything today.
Yeah.
But you look back,
you did.
And it could be like a 5-second conversation that you had with the coworker, or something that was just impactful for your day. And I'm not the best at it, but seeking those things for your children and for your wife, it's like, hey, let's step away real quick. Let's go do something real quick.
Yeah.
That's I think that's what life is about.
It's harder, now we've got a kind of a hustle culture,
and everybody's got to do it,
and everybody's got to
keep up.
But I'm gonna find a way out of this rat race. It may not be for a while, but I'm gonna find my way out of it. But as far as speaking of being hustle, it seems like I don't know. I see you stop and play basketball for a little while, but it seems like immediately after. You've got, and I know you're not necessarily hustling, like you said, you're building relationships. Right. But one thing about building relationships is that people start to expect, some of your time, your attention, and things like that. And you've given it to them. It's not like you're saying, hey, I don't want to speak with you or anything like that. Like how moving into the, back into the external affairs manager, how do you balance that? How do you balance the expectations of the people that you created relationships with?
So you give of yourself as much as you can. Yeah. And
do you find it hard to create boundaries for people? You don't. It doesn't seem like you do. It seems you seem like the person is be like, hey, look, I'm doing this, but
no, saying no is a hard thing for me because it's an expectation that I set for myself. Gotcha. Is that everything's my job, right? And so one thing that helped me is when I referenced Indiana and Michigan earlier. I worked up in South Bend, Indiana for Indiana Michigan Power before I moved back here to Long Beach. Okay. And I went from being a transformer repairman to a community affairs manager, much like so I went from, wrenches, hammers, to the first time they asked me, would you serve on our board? Mike, I didn't know what a board was. I'm serious. I am serious. I don't even know how I got the job. I didn't know what a board was. Like, board's a 2x4. Board's something you build. I kind of knew enough that organizations had a board. I didn't know how to vote. I didn't know how to look at the agenda. I'd had enough from Texas A&M from some of the financial classes to understand what a profit and loss is. But I didn't know what a board member's role was, right? And so everybody that asked, I said yes. Yeah. So I was on like a board conservancy role. I was on all these boards that didn't really benefit my company or really even didn't benefit me as a human. And what I realized is that if I said yes to everything, I wasn't completely ineffective, but I was less effective. Sure. It's the say no to good so you could say yes to great. It took me a while to figure that out, right? But once I did, so when I moved here, mentally I said, I've got to say no to certain things, not because they're not great organizations.
Sure, but they just don't fit within what you're...
That's right. I'm not passionate about it. Yeah. Or it doesn't fit the expectation for where I want my company to be represented at. Sure. And so, believe it or not, even with the many boards that I've been privileged to serve on, is I've said no to twice as many. Literally twice as many. Yeah. And that's not about me. I mean, a lot of that's just because of the company and what role we play. But yeah, you have to learn how to say no. So that's probably.
I'm glad you learned all that about boards because we have a quiz for you right now.
Let's go.
See what you've learned over all these years.
What's a passing grade?
No, really, I know. You should be a valedictorian. You're a valedictorian. This should be easy for you. Yeah, really. And the only reason why I know anything about any boards is because of my wife. Shout out to the beautiful Miss Alicia Johnson. Yeah. She actually has a nonprofit here, the Queens United. She started about 5 or 6 years ago. And she's been telling me, oh, yeah, you should be on the board. And I was like, I don't even know. What would I do there?
You'd be great at it.
You'd be great at it. And it is something, eventually, because I want to become more and more vested in the community. I think our living situation, you would see my two youngest with me. Yeah. When I play ball and things like that in the morning. And, I kind of devoted my time to, if they worked with me basically, you know. So I didn't have the mental capacity at that point, but now they're in school, daycare, things like that. It is something, you know, kind of want to start branching out into. And speaking of which, what kind of things would you like to see? I mean, you serve a lot of boards, you talk to a lot of people that are doing great things in the community. As a community, especially here in Longview, what are some things or some organizations you would like to see more people get involved in that you feel like, you know, would really have
That's a great question, man. There's so many good ones. There's so many good ones.
Please forgive us if anybody gets left out.
So just to keep from leaving anybody, I'm just going to pick one that's pretty close to my heart, and just it's the newest board that I'm serving on. It's the Martin House Child Advocacy Center. They're right there by Boys and Girls Club, over by Thrive 360 Ware Elementary. And are you aware of what they do? And then I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit.
A little bit, not a whole lot.
So they work with children ages 2 to 3 to 18. Sometimes there'll be a special needs person that kind of still in that age range that they'll work with, that have been physically or sexually abused.
Oh wow, okay.
And you know, they have a campaign right now. It's called Shatter the Silence, because one thing that we know is that only probably about 30% of any type of abuse gets recognized or gets talked about, right? Yeah, that's right. And there's a lot of it that goes on out there. And so, you know, we're privy to a lot of things, but what I love about it is that, you know, 15, 20 years ago, when they created this organization, this child would have to relive the worst day of their life multiple times, right? So they talk to a parent, or they talk to a teacher, or they talk to a coach, or they talk to a Sunday school teacher, and then they would talk to a police officer, and then they talk to a detective, and then they talk to DA, and then they talk to a lawyer, or they talk to, right? And they had to relive this over and over. And so now what they do is they create a space where this child can come in. It's a very nice little interview room, looks like a house. It's not a police station, it's not a hospital.
Right.
But then in the next room over, you know, you have all those people that they need to talk to, and you have an interviewer. And I don't want to get too much detail, but you know, they're kind of
killing several birds with one stone.
Absolutely. They're coaching the interviewer to say, hey, we need this information. And I'm telling you, there's some really nasty and bad people in our community.
I understand.
And I'm so thankful that I wasn't aware of the organization before. But the problem is that if you're not aware of the organization, it's good because you probably never needed it, but it's bad because you don't know that it's a resource, right? We had someone from the school district. We have police officers that come in. They said, I had no idea this place was even here. All right. Well, these are the people that are working with our young people every day, and they see the symptoms. They see the broken arms that are, you know, it's nurses that are at a hospital, and they see a healed arm. They saw them a year ago, and it's like, you broke your arm tremendously and it's crooked or what. It's like, there's no, you know, so we just need people to know that there's a resource called Martin House Child Advocacy Center, and it's amazing what they do. Yeah. It's just, man, I could tell you stories for days, but that's one thing you can, more importantly than you doing what I'm passionate about, I think you should find what you're passionate about, right? So I can speak to that with, like, I'll get excited. You'll hear it in my voice. Man, I talk about it long enough, and if you get me talking about the forensics room there, I'll just break down on you because you know what they have to go through there, right? Where they got a nurse that's inspecting a young person. But just because that's something that I'm passionate about, or United Way I'm passionate about. You find what you're passionate about, man. It might be safe housing, right? It might be Miracle League, special needs kids. I don't know. What are you passionate about? I bet it though. If you told me what you're passionate about, I could find you a board to serve on. I could find you something to do. No doubt about it.
And a lot of times it really is just exposure. You know, like if you had known that this thing was available, then I think a lot of, but you know, we move so quickly through the day. We're trying to get to a time of rest, and then it is a little bit burdensome when you find out. Right. Like now you take on the burden of, I know that this is an issue out here. Right. And am I going to do something about it or not? Right. I served at, I was a volunteer supervisor for East Texas CASA.
Yeah.
And
good organization.
And great organization. And you start realizing, excuse me, you start realizing how many children are
it's tough,
suffering.
Man. It's tough. And have nobody to speak for them,
and have
right?
Nobody to speak for them. And they're amazing kids in terrible situations. And some of these kids I would meet, and I mean, they would leave such a lasting impression.
Yeah.
You know, and then you would see them have to go home in some situations, you know, because those were primarily emergency removals.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and then you would see them sometimes have to go home to parents that have only changed minimally.
Just enough to get them back.
Just
right.
enough to get, and sometimes a lot of times they wanted to be home with a parent, you know.
Right.
And
Sure.
And that makes sense.
It's crazy. Sometimes they feel responsible for whatever's going on as a child. It's like, this is not your fault. This is not you.
No. So, I mean, that is something, you know, it's Martin House is something I would definitely look into and learn more about because that is important, you know. And even if it's just, hey, I may not be able to serve currently. Maybe it's something I can do down the road, or it's something I can be talking with somebody else.
That's exactly that, and that's why it's called Shatter the Silence. It's like, you may never, and I hope to God you never need it. Your family doesn't need it. None of your friends ever need it, but somebody's going to need it. Right. With the rates of incidents that we see just in Gray County, and they serve Harrison County, they serve other areas as well, but the numbers that we see here, and you start looking at your population, you know somebody that's been through there. You don't know that you know somebody, but you know somebody that's been through there. Their family's been through there. I was talking with one of their employees, and she said a name popped up that she knew the other day. And it was like, you know, but again, she has to stay away, from the process to a certain degree. But we all probably know somebody that's used that facility. But it's much like mental health. The only problem we can't fix is the one we don't talk about. The only problem we can't. So
you don't know it's a problem.
We could just not talk about mental health, and people continue to commit suicide and continue to have horrible home lives and never be able to figure out, okay, what do I need to do to get better? We could do the same thing about abuse. We could just not talk about it. It's not going to go away. Right, so we've got to figure out, what do we have to say? How do we vote? How do we shatter that silence? So you know there's a resource so we can start towards healing.
And hopefully that'll be, you know. So I'm going to do a one season of just nonprofits here, and so hopefully that'd be somebody that, you know, you connected with.
Yeah, Roxanne Stevenson she'll bring her dog in. Rainey.
Yeah.
It's the therapy dog.
Roxanne Stevens, I know that name.
Yeah, she's awesome.
And you know, we were talking earlier about the next generation, you know, being whatever. These are the kind of things, you know, like, oh, hey, y'all knew of abuse. Like for myself, I know, we talk about church. So I grew up in the church. I spent a lot of time in the church, and I would hear of things that men especially would do in the church, and nobody corrected them on. And then all of a sudden, this person is not corrected. You create
a culture then, isn't it?
Now it's a part of the culture, and now you can't say anything to the next person because you didn't say anything to him. And then the kids are looking at them, how are you going to correct us and be hypocritical when you didn't do anybody your own age.
When the most perceptive people in the church realize, like, hey, you can't say anything to me in my formative years.
Exactly. So, you know, it is something that we have to, you know, start speaking more about. Say, hey, this is a problem that needs addressing, and there are solutions out there, you know, and there's different ways that you can get involved. You know, and every little bit helps. You know, I try to tell people all the time, if you only got a little, give it, because that's going to add up if more and more people get involved. So I think that's super, super important. So, you know, with your external affairs position, are you still doing anything like on the lines or anything like that? You still get a chance to put your hands to work or anything?
So I told someone the other day, if you see me working, you should really take a picture. Like,
oh, really?
Because my coworkers will not believe you. No, I try to stay in my own lane on that. So during storms, so like the June 16th storm that we had come through, gosh, what a devastating storm. We had 235,000 customers out. That's almost half of our customers. That's one out of every two, almost. You know, it was. We've never seen a storm like that. The person that works in the office next to me, he's been with us for 35 years, something like that, over 35 years. He said, I've never seen a storm this big hit Swepco. And you know, I was talking with one of the news anchors that came out to interview, which is one of my many hats that I wear during a storm. And he said, hey, after this, that's right. The beautiful face of Swepco for East Texas. Yeah, that's debatable. But he said, hey, can you take me to where the damage is after this? I said, look, man, I can't take you to one place that has 1,000 trees down, but I can take you to 1,000 places that has 1 or 2 trees. I mean, it was the devastation was amazing. But my job is not to go put the lines back up. Sure. You know, those days of fixing transformers and doing anything technical, those are set to the side now. We have what's called incident command structure, which is something that we train. It's a federal structure so that you're working, whether it's with FEMA or Texas Department of Emergency Management, whoever those responding agencies are that are coming in, they have the same structure, right? Gotcha. So you can have an incident commander, you can have logistics, you can have all of these different hierarchy, and then it kind of, so I have liaison role, right? Which is, you know, the folks, myself and the folks on my team, we work with the communities to make sure. So we'll sit in the emergency management agency. We'll sit with in an ERC, and we'll sit down with fire, police, public works, you know, and we're gonna give them an assessment on where we're at every day.
Interesting. Okay,
here's where we're at. And so for Marshall, for Wascom, for the city of Longview, this last storm really. Those are our big hubs, right? Yeah. I mean, they got hit so bad. Everybody else got some damage. Marshall and Wascom were tore up very badly, right? And so our job is to make sure that we call them war rooms, but we're in those hubs.
Yeah, I got you.
And then we're sending information. So we're listening to the conversation. We're sending that information out. And so that's my job in a storm, is no longer to, you know, respond to lines.
Sure.
Again, if you see me out there, you might want to.
It must be really, really bad. Then, huh?
Yeah, they've come to the end of their rope, and now it's me out there working.
I mean, it seems like either y'all are sending people elsewhere, or people are linemen and different electrical professionals are being sent to different places.
We sent them to South Texas this week, or last week, and we're sending them to Florida. They're literally driving to Florida right now for that hurricane that's coming in right now.
Oh, because the hurricane hasn't hit
yet, but if you can get your resources there before, they're talking about, I heard on the news this morning, like an 8 or 9 foot storm surge wave. I mean, that's enough to take out buildings. So it's going to do damage. There's no doubt about that. And so we have
a lot of insurance companies.
Insurance.
They're like,
we're
glad we got out of
it. Especially those multi-million-dollar condos right on the beach. It's like, why do we insure this?
Oh my gosh.
Oh man, I can't even imagine. But yeah, the goal is, you know, we have mutual assistance, which means that from all over the nation, with our June 16th, we had people from Indiana, Michigan, West Virginia, Oklahoma, until they had their storm and had to go back. South Texas, we had everybody here.
Yeah,
We've had people from Canada. We had Quebec, Ontario came down to South Louisiana.
Wow.
Oh man, I rode through that camp. So we all come back at night, you know, eat, you know, shower, get your laundry done, go to bed, and start out there in the morning. And so I'd go through different areas, and man, I heard from South Texas, I heard Spanish. You know, you're in Louisiana, so you're hearing some Cajun. You heard French in the Canada, and then I heard our East Texas, and you know we can't understand what we're saying anyway. So it's quite a cultural moment. But yeah, the goal is to get them there before it lands, so that as soon as at least in the vicinity, so they're not driving 2 days to get there.
Yeah. And I mean that storm. I mean, I can't remember experiencing anything like that. You know, especially I was all the way out in Hawkins. Yeah. What is that community there? Right outside of Hawkins.
Over by Alert Academy.
Yeah, past Alert Academy. It's
Big Sandy.
Past Big Sandy. It's not Hidden Lake. It's
Hideaway.
No,
not Hideaway.
It's one. It'll come back to me. Okay. We used to have a little resort thing out there, but we were all the way out there past Hawkins, and there was people with there. Because I remember going up to the place, I was like, why do they have these power cords, you know, up to this gym? And then it hit me. I was like, wait a minute, and that was a week after the storm. Yeah. You know, so people were.
Marshall and Wascom were out 10 and 11 days.
Wow.
Yeah. That's a tough storm, man.
It's kind of crazy, you know, because a few years ago, of course, we had the big snowstorm.
Yeah, that's right. Snow-Mageddon.
Snow-Mageddon, yeah.
Snowvid, whatever.
Which I was very grateful. We didn't lose power.
We did. Our system did great that storm.
Yeah. Y'all gained a lot of confidence.
We did.
From your
Our customer base appreciated that. There was still water issues because things froze, right?
Sure.
And so pipes cracked and man, the city, usually it's a reverse role and the city's like, how can we help you? And this time it was city had a lot of water pipes that were damaged and that type of thing. So when it comes to preparation, we talked about that a little bit. You always want to make sure that you have enough resources for several days, but water's a big deal.
Does that affect, why would y'all get involved with the water side?
So really on our side, usually, so in the Snow-Mageddon, the winter storm, that wasn't as much an issue for us. But in the June 16th storm, it absolutely was. When our power is down, you got to think about what makes a community go bad quickly. Right. And I will tell you, it is water and trash. Like, you don't think about it because it's just a utility.
Sure.
And you just it's almost like electricity. When you flip that switch, it comes on. Everything's good.
Sure.
When your trash gets taken out, it's good. When your water's flowing, it's good. But when it is not, that becomes an issue. So think about the system. And what does electricity have to do with water? Well, if they can't pump their water from whatever reservoir they're coming from, they can't filter it, they can't clean it, they can't use. Then on the flip side, once you use it, the lift station to get the sewage and the wastewater and everything else back to those treatment plants. Without power, everything shuts down. And you think about it. When the power goes out at your house, what are you doing? You're lighting a candle.
Right,
you're finding whatever batteries you have, right? And that lives and dwells with us every day. Each and every one of our employees sits there knowing that if you don't have power to this computer, your camera, and these lights, we're done today.
Exactly.
We have to stop this podcast. But you know what's even more important than that is if a surgeon down the road doesn't have electricity, or your teacher at your kid's school doesn't have electricity, guess what? Then you get called. And guess what? You get to go home from work, and some people don't get paid when they go home, right? And so we don't get to store. I get on my soapbox a little bit here, but we don't get to store our product, right?
Sure.
I'm not the bread company, I'm not the milk company.
Right.
I can't put it on the shelf or put it in a refrigerator, and you use it when you want to.
Sure.
That electron spun off a generator an eighth of a second ago.
Yep, it's being produced right now.
As you use it, we're producing it, right? And so, to me, that's how crucial it is that we're good at our job. Yeah. Because if we're not good at our job, it's not just about comfort. It's nice to have AC. It's nice to have lights. But there's an expectation for us from your livelihood. Sure. Right? Your kid's education. Yeah. Somebody, that's going through surgery right now. That's a big deal to us. And so always wearing that weight, you talk about the weight of relationships. I think the bigger weight for us as a company, hopefully this always remains true, is that we have to provide a product that is safe. Number one, it's got to be safe. I mean, we can't have people getting electrocuted. Like that's, and that's probably 100 years ago. Whatever, But we've got to maintain safety for our employees, for our customers. It's got to
keep improving the safety as well.
Absolutely, man. Making sure that we are really good at what we do, but then reliable as well, right? Power outages, such a headache. Yeah. Even if it's, just a blink, and we've got some great equipment that's, those blinks used to be outages, and you come back and it's like, hey, man, I had an outage. But it was a 2-second outage as opposed to I could really get in a deep dive.
Over here where I live, right up the road here, that's all we get is flickers.
Get a blink,
we get a blink, and I was like, oh man, things have come a long way, because where I'm from, and my parents still experience this with a different electric company. Right. If the thunder cracks too hard, the electricity is gone, and it's probably gone for a day. And I grew up in that whole scenario. So now my wife, she kind of panics a little bit with the electricity out. In my head, I'm like, this is everyday life. But it does bring a deep appreciation for the lights not going out, because I'm constantly like, okay, the lights go out. I need to be charging my phone. There's a storm coming. Let me go ahead and charge my phone now. Let me do these things. Let's get batteries. Let's have all this stuff. And then the lights never go out. Yeah. And honestly,
that's great. I love that story.
Yeah. I know that's not like that for everybody. I know that's not like that for everybody. But so for one, because I used to work for Reliant in
really
Tyler.
Okay, yeah.
Salesman. It was
you're talking about selling. Yeah.
Listen, my first day. This I knew I wasn't gonna make it. The first place we went to, I was shadowing a guy. We went out into a rural part of Tyler, and we walked up. And I was kind of back on the steps, and the guy knocked on the door. He started explaining who he is. And the gentleman that owned the house said, if you don't get off my porch right now, I'm going to shoot you.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, what are we doing here? I don't like. I thought we were gonna try to save this man some money. You know, in my
I'm
head,
here to
I'm like,
help you.
This is gonna work out
me?
good.
Yeah.
You got to shoot us? No, this is not for me. I don't want to go door to door sales. And then also too, the deregulation. I'm kind of appreciative.
Yeah.
Of not being in a place where we were deregulated because it seemed like those areas had more of an issue.
They did, and some of that was weather related, and some of it was available resources. You know, we've been able to maintain I'm going to throw some numbers out here that I think are right. 16 to 17% spending reserve, which means that we have that much more in generation than the highest average or the highest demand on our system.
Okay.
Right. So that's how much generation that we currently have. That's always a mix, right? So we just shut down Perky Power Plant there in Hallsville, April 1st of this year.
Oh, okay.
That was a hard decision to make. So some of that comes away from that, right? So we've always got to make sure, okay, what are we building?
Sure.
Because it's not easy to build a power plant or a solar display or whatever you're
going to
build.
Up tomorrow.
No, it's not. It's not an erector set. You know, it's not Lincoln Logs and Legos, right? So it's going to take a little while. But how do we maintain that reliability so that no matter what you ask for us, again, we've got to be there to provide it as you ask for it. And we can do all the weather projections and usage projections, but man, everybody puts their motors on at the same time and turn on the ACs at the same time.
How do you plan? Because how does anybody plan for Snow-Mageddon? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, that was such a unique experience. And I remember some cold days. I don't ever remember -3, -4. You know, and because my mom would tell me, she's from Philadelphia, and she would tell me all the time, y'all don't know cold. You know, you don't know snow. You see a little bit of you shut down. I recognize at that moment, like, oh man, I am completely unprepared. You know, because it's just in my brain, I don't think this is something I prepare for. Tornadoes, I got my plan together. Right. Fire, I got my plan together.
Random hurricane come off the Gulf somehow.
You know, all those things I've got a plan for. When the snow hit, I was like, okay, I don't have a plan for this at all. And it started making me think about my roof structure. Yeah. You know, all these different things, the trees around me. I was like, okay, wait a minute. Right. If this starts to become heavy, yeah, exactly. Are we in a safe place? Those are all things that I have to consider now. Yeah. But I thought when I was getting a little upset, I was like, oh man, I'm looking at all these people. Unfortunately, there were a lot of deaths.
217.
200. That's
the last time I checked. 217.
That was a ton of people. That I mean, and a part of you wants to be like, oh man, well, it's the people want to bring out the axe and the pitchfork. Somebody's gonna have to pay. But in all honesty, how would anybody have prepared for that?
We're so prepared for heat. Right, that's what Texans are prepared for. We're ready.
I thought I was prepared for heat.
Not this summer.
We'll go to that next.
Oh my gosh! But of the things we're prepared for, we're way more prepared for heat. Like we don't. I mean, it wouldn't even make sense. That was a once, and I think this said 500-year storm, and people were upset. Mayor Mack and I had a conversation. He's like, "Well, they want a snowplow."
Right.
It's like, we would probably never use it again, right? So but in the heat of the moment, right? It's like, why aren't we prepared?
Sure.
Well, some of that, you have to give everybody, including yourself, a little bit of grace.
Exactly.
Say, hey, look, this hasn't happened in your lifetime, not your grandparents' lifetime. Like probably not in the history of our country.
Right.
Has that ever happened here?
Right.
So let's all step back, because it does get political real quick, and it does get like, people want to throw the blame. It's like, well, let's learn some lessons.
Sure.
Let's figure out what we're going to do going forward. And that's, to me, that's the most important part of the conversation. Now, somebody is intentionally negligent. Yeah,
that's one thing.
That's one thing. But if you're just like, hey, we've never experienced this before, so in the next 500 years, if this happens again, this is part of what I mean.
Even to the storm that we talking about on June 16th. I mean, if the gentleman that's been there for 40, 50 years says, I've never experienced this before, in my mind, I would hope, and all those that are listening, I would hope, that these kind of freakish happenings would come with some grace as well. That people say, oh, hey, how can we work together to get these things done? I think that would be something that I would like to see out of my generation. Us millennials to start to say, hey, something goes wrong. Let's not look for somebody to blame. let's look to us to say, okay, what can we do to help in this situation?
Well, as millennials, and I'll just get off on a little tangent here, is we're very destructive, right? We like to tear down things, but we don't always have the answer. We just want to change the way things are. And sometimes things absolutely need to be changed.
Exactly.
Right? It's like, hey, this needs to be changed. It's not working. But much like some of my best bosses said is, if you come to me with a complaint, have a solution. Right?
At least an idea. Let's get started. Like,
you may not have the right solution,
right?
But come to me with the right attitude of saying, hey, here's an issue that I'm seeing, but you know what I think would make it better is this. What I've seen in myself and many people my age is that, sometimes we just like to it's the Napster mentality. So let's just steal it. Let's just take it. Napster, they come in. It's like, let me just give away everybody's music for free, because I don't think
really about to date us now. Napster. We're gonna have to explain to some people what Napster actually was.
Have to put that in the link.
Yeah, there you go. I'll put a Wikipedia.
Whole nother podcast. But yeah, I agree, man. And so what I encourage and hopefully portray myself and encourage our employees to do is, like, we don't frustrate the grace of our customers, right? But we receive a ton of it. That storm, we had people, like I said, from all over the United States, and one of the guys from West Virginia, they had quite a few folks here, and he said, y'all leave your gates open. He's like, during storm. I was like, yeah, we got people coming in and out 24/7. What do you tell you? We can't have people, we can't issue a badge. It's like, man, if we did that in our area during storm, we wouldn't get any work done, because everybody would be knocking on, like, hey, when are you going to get our power back on? Literally, the only people that were showing up were bringing brownies and drinks and cookies.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he said, I've never seen anything like this. And so, to me, that's kind of the difference of, we receive a lot of grace here. But please know that we're not banking on that. Like, you don't come to the utility to slack off. Like, you come here to work. And if you don't work, you're not going to last very long. Yeah.
And you were talking a few minutes ago. You brought up the heat, and we might as well make our way into that, because we're finally seems like we're making our way out of.
It's 95 degrees, and we're going, oh, thank
you,
God.
Lord. Yeah. That's literally a Facebook post I put up the other day. I was like, Lord, thank you for 94 degrees. And I don't think I said it. I actually think that the AC unit set it through me.
That's right. It turned off.
Yeah, it turned off. It was like, yes.
About 1 o'clock in the morning.
I thought I saw it with like a vacation bag. It was just going to take off on me.
Deuces, I'm out of here.
Yeah, man. Jeez, I'll see y'all in a few weeks.
I'm going to Michigan.
I'm going to see Lincoln in D.C. at night.
Yeah, that's right.
Because it has been, and I see, some age in a group on Facebook, I would see, man, we got a $600 bill,
man,
$500-$600 bill, and unfortunately, that's just kind of what comes with it. Now, I wish they would have grew up with a mom like mine, because my mom, she just turns everything in the house dark.
Yeah,
like she just, and it really does make a difference in cooling.
It does. It cools it off less with LED lights than when we were growing up.
Right.
But yeah, it does. It makes a difference.
Keeps the sun out. Trying to. It's pretty much dark in the house, but it's cooler, it's like sitting in the shade. So
that's right.
How has this been? I mean, is this something that y'all have seen, especially for the length of time? It feels like we had like a month long of plus 100 days.
Yep. So it was about a week and a half ago, I heard a report out of Tyler that they had hit over 100 degrees for 17 days. And then I started paying attention from that. It's been a couple weeks since then. So we're at a month of 100 or greater in our area. I'm not a meteorologist. I'm not going to play one on TV. I don't know.
Yeah.
But to me, that's the most. I will say that our customers' bills have been the highest that they've ever seen. Right? So that tells me.
Yeah.
So what's really frustrating is when you're both out of power for 5 or 6 days, and then you get your highest bill.
Yeah.
You know how frustrating that is? It's not just like
I'm not going to pay this. It's principle. I don't
100% is like, oh no, I'm not paying this bill. I get that. You know why? Because I was out for 4 days. And I got my highest bill, right? In a house we just built. And I'm like, what the heck is this bill, right? And then you look at your usage. Well, thank God. It sounds bad, but you almost are thankful that you were off for a little bit, because your bill would have been that much higher.
Oh, yeah.
Because, man, when you get up over that 100, like there's a big difference between trying to cool your house down to 75 from 105 than from trying to heat it, from 30 to 75 or whatever you're trying to get it to. There's a big difference there, and that cooling easily the most expensive thing in your house.
I would say, like, and a lot of people that like if I sold them a house, or like friends of mine that own homes, they would all be saying the same thing, like, oh man, I need to get an AC unit guy out, come put some more refrigerant in there or something like that. And I was like, listen, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's not gonna do you any good.
Right.
You're gonna spend this money, and the AC guy, and that's rightfully so. If they brought you, if I'm an AC tech and you called me out here to do this, I'm gonna do it for you.
Right.
But also too, you should know this is not gonna have the effect that you think it should have.
Right. It's a temporary fix.
Yeah. It seems like really more so probably what they should focus on is maybe getting more like insulation and things added in the home.
Yeah. So go to Swepco.com. I'm glad you brought that up. Swepco.com has both the residential and business programs. So
I didn't know they had the business program.
Oh, yeah, they got both. Because the businesses pay into this. So the Public Utility Commission of Texas requires us to have an energy efficiency. It's called Energy Efficiency Demand Side Management Program. All right. So it's basically how can you use less electricity. So It sounds funny that the power company will pay you to use less of their product, right? I mean, you're not doing that. You're not giving a discount if somebody buys a cheaper home, right? You're like, I want you to buy the highest that you can afford, right? But because that's what, but for us, it's a stewardship thing, right? It's a making sure that you're not just leaving the lights on.
Right.
You're not just using this electricity because you can. It's how can you use it most efficiently so that not only is it good for your bill, but, we've got to produce this. And so as we produce it, we don't just want it to be wasted either. And so go to Swepco.com. There's an energy efficiency page. And then you go to, if you're a residential customer, go to residential. If you're a business customer, go to business.
Yeah.
We do, on the home side, we do home weatherization. So they'll come in and they'll do actual study of your house. They'll see where the heat or the cool is coming in. They'll blow in insulation. They'll clean your vents. And that's part of what you pay for. That is not something that you get charged for.
Really?
I say it's free. But if you look at your bill, you've been paying for this whole time. So if you're out there and you're listening to this podcast and you've never utilized this, you need to. My mother-in-law did.
Honest. Yeah. I'm one that is not.
Raise that hand. This so man is going to get on Swepco.com.
I mean, literally, in preparation for this, I saw that. I was like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, man.
I do think I've heard somebody mention it before. And I don't think that I correctly understood it, and it is something. I mean, this is literally part of my job because I tell people after I sell your house, it's not the end of our relationship.
Right.
You
want them to be successful beyond that.
Because I know what it's like to be a homeowner, and you're looking around like, oh man, what do I do about this situation?
Right.
Hey, let's continue to add things to our knowledge and understanding. That way we can have a better home ownership experience.
Right.
And so I literally got on there. I was like, oh wait, this has been here the whole time.
Swepco.com is such a hidden resource. It's amazing. Even when I get on there, so you're raising your hand, I'll raise my hand. Even when I get on there, I'm like, oh yeah, we do that. I mean, there's times when it's like, oh, that's a great program. Oh yeah, we provide that for our customer. And so please go to Swepco.com. Just dig around. Just do yourself a favor. Go around 15 minutes. Just kind of dig around the website.
Sure.
If you're thinking about solar, there's a solar calculator on there. There's a lot of people selling solar right now.
I'm nervous about it.
Man, I would just tell you. Let me give you.
And especially because it seems like there's not a lot of, I don't know if regulation is the right word, or if there's not a lot of oversight.
Yeah, there's not a lot of accountability for the builder, for the installers.
Yeah.
So I'll start this by saying not all solar installers are bad.
Sure.
Everybody get that? Not all installers. Not all solar installers are bad.
Sure.
But I have had my fill of talking to elderly people that have committed a certain portion of their life savings to a $50,000 to $75,000 installation on the roof. Now break that down to your monthly bill. How many years is that going to take you to pay off that $75,000? If let's say you got a $200 bill, that's $2,500 a year. How long is it going to take you to pay $50,000 and you're elderly?
Oh my gosh!
I'm not going to try to even say I'm going to do the math there, but it's $50,000. It's going to be roughly 20 years, 25. there's people that come in and install, and it's very frustrating. I'll give you one specific example. I'll leave his name out. Gentleman that I go to church with, he's deaf. He's African American, and he works at the. Well, I won't tell you where he works.
Yeah, there you go.
But he's very intelligent. When he comes in, man, he's just like he's the
He's got the spirit.
Like the deaf section
really,
comes alive because he's there. And an installer came in and said, "Hey, we'll do this. He's got a double wide. All right, so this is a trailer home." And after spending, I want to say it was $50,000. Basically, he gets about $40 worth of benefit, and he pays $270 a month for that benefit. I can't tell you how, I'll just say angry, but frustrated.
Yeah.
That makes me, as a provider of a product.
Sure.
And he's just being taken advantage
exactly.
of. He's called. He can't get him on the phone. He can't. But he's
'Cause
stuck in this legal contract with them.
And a lot of those
100%.
are like third-party salesmen that come out and they really don't have a good knowledge of what's going on.
So there's a solar calculator. It will have you type in your address. It will show you your rooftop. It will, show you your sun exposure. It'll show you 3% average increase in your current bill.
That's crazy.
And then you type in how much you're going to spend, and it'll tell you if you're going to get a net, if you're ever going to see like a break even on it.
Wow.
Now, I've typed in many people's projects, and I've never seen a break even. I'm not saying it's not there,
Really?
but it's very expensive. It makes more sense in California.
Sure.
Because their prices are twice as much.
Right.
So what would pencil out for us in 40 years will pencil out for them in 20 years.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Right?
That
So
makes sense.
when they're paying, almost 30 cents per kilowatt hour there, we're paying 12, 14, right? Okay, so
now
it's a big difference.
Sure.
It's a big difference. So
Sure.
that's my soapbox there a little bit. I'm just tired of it. Seems like they're specifically approaching elderly,
Sure,
English as a second language, or minorities or special needs, and it's just really so. Thank you for the platform, but I just as a human,
sure,
take away the part that I work for. If this was just my friend and I heard about it,
right.
I'd be talking to them and saying, "Man, you're never making that money back."
Yeah,
and not only that, you're paying more for the next 30-year contract.
Sheesh.
This gentleman. Hope to God he has 30 years.
They're probably I imagine they're putting a lien on your home for that loan. And
they
everything.
would. They put you in collection.
Sheesh.
So because the whole thing is, do I just stop paying? Well, no, you can't. You're still receiving a benefit. Like, as much as I would love to tell him, just rip those solar panels off your house and mail them back to him, he's in a contract with them. And it's a 30-year contract. Those panels probably won't last 30 years. Look, I'm all for solar. I'm all for any type of form of generation that you want to put out there. Let's do it. But there's a reason why, historically we've only had like large fields connected directly to a substation because we can get those economies of scale, right? We can line up, 100 acres with solar panels timed directly into the grid, and then it breaks even, right? Dang. But you're going to put it on 1,000 different housetops and say it's going to...
And then you read about places, I remember the first time I actually heard anything about solar panels on somebody's home. It was a guy like in Colorado. Mm-hmm. And he was actually like receiving a payment back.
Yep, that's right.
For how much he was producing.
Right.
And so you get like, oh, maybe I can get an experience like that without really a clear understanding. Like, that may not be how it works here,
That isn't how it works here. And that's a really good point, is that's called net metering, and some states have it and some states don't. And in the regulated regulated portion of Texas, so that's basically balancing your load, right? So net metering is, this is how much you used. Mm-hmm. This is how much you sent back to the grid.
Got you.
And so they net it out, right? So if you used exactly the same, then your bill's a zero.
Yeah.
Right? Easy. For us, that's not the way it works. The Public Utility Commission of Texas says that basically it's an offset fuel cost. It's what it would have cost us to either purchase that electron or produce it ourselves.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? Which to me is the fairest way. I call net metering a poor man's tax. Because you think about it, people that can afford to go and get these large solar developments, right?
Yeah.
Then they're using the grid as a battery, right? So they're out working or whatever. Their house isn't really using a whole lot. They have this huge field worth of solar panels. Mm-hmm. Where are they sending that? They're not using it, so they're sending it back to the grid, i.e. the battery. That's where they're storing electrons. And then they're bringing those back off the grid at night when they're home, they're having a party, or they're having the kids, or they're doing homework, they're washing their laundry. Now they're pulling it back off of the battery.
Yeah.
That was at no cost to them. Well, who's still paying for that? The people that can afford these large solar panel installations. That's one way to look at it, right?
Yeah.
Is that, if you can't afford it now, the fairest way is, that we pay as a company. So let's say you're paying 13 cents per kilowatt hour. The cost of fuel to create that for us is about 3 cents per kilowatt hour.
Sure.
So that's why it's not really super effective in our area.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of those folks that want to sell you, they're going to tell you, hey, you're going to get paid 13 cents a kilowatt hour.
Yeah.
Well, that makes it break even a whole lot sooner than if you get paid
definitely.
3 cents. So
I mean, I had a friend come to me and he almost got me on the tip of like they said, hey, well, we'll replace your roof. The roof had a little age. We'll replace the roof for you. You put the solar panels up and then you get the savings from the electric. And I don't know. Some things, when they sound too good to be true, they generally are.
Yeah, most times.
And I was like, nah, I feel like if I get it, I've been burned a couple times, and I'm not afraid to admit, as a real estate agent, I've been burned on a couple of things, not having a complete understanding of what it was. So if I can't, it's almost like how Warren Buffett considers investing. Like, hey, if I can't explain it to a third grader, or a small child,
can't write it on a napkin, can't tell it to a third grader.
I probably don't need to have anything to do with it because I don't understand it enough. And so I would say, if anybody is considering those things, all that is on Swepco.com. That's an awesome resource.
Please go to Swepco.com.
Go to Swepco.com.
Sit in there for a little while.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, you pay us a lot of money, right? Mm-hmm. There's no doubt. And we talk about percentage of wallet in-house. And it's like how much of your take-home pay is your energy bill, right? I mean, we have to look at these things and say, can people even afford us, right? And our Public Utility Commission of Texas, or the ones that represent us in different states, require that of us as well. You also got to remember, we're customers as well. Yeah. Right? We don't get a discount on our bill. Right?
So, y'all don't get a discount?
No.
Man,
sorry.
Come on, Swepco. At least a couple cents a kilowatt hour.
So we know exactly what you're going through as customers.
Thank you for being in there with us. You're not sitting on the outside.
And we take our personal stories into those customer focus team meetings, into those reliability meetings, into those matrix meetings, external affairs meetings, where we're talking about bringing our customers' needs into our house now. And we're saying, okay, that's not just us. That's our mom. Mm-hmm. That's our dad. That's our it's our coworkers. That's our pastor. That's our fellow coach. That's these are the people that it's not our customers aren't nameless. You know what I'm saying? Right. We try to make those as human as possible.
You're not detached from them.
Absolutely, man. We got look. We don't ship our product overseas. Like, you use my product, right? 100%. I can see any car that goes down that road and say that person uses my product. I don't have to ask about it. So then it's like, how well do that's why it's personal, right? Man, if I sold widgets to some company in Alaska, they're gonna have to drive a long way to get to me. You know how long you have to drive to have a conversation with me? Right. It's in church all the time. Hey man, I have people bring me their bill in church. Like, hey man, real quick. But you know what? I'm okay with that. You know why? Because that's my product. Sure. Right? And if we're not doing a good job, then I should be held accountable. And so that's who we are, man. It's got to be personal.
The external affairs.
Man, I am the beautiful face of Swepco for East Texas. I had to get a mask.
There it is. COVID was... Was there a big? Has there been a big jump since COVID? I mean, I know a lot of people stayed home and things like that. I mean, did it just transfer from the businesses to home and kind of keep everything the same, or did I don't know if you're aware of that. What
we noticed was that people that were working from home, like if you had a blip or you had even if you had, like, sometimes we have to take down a system to do work safely and then put it back up, right? So sometimes there's just a scenario where it's like, guys, we have to de-energize that, and we don't like to do that. But for our safety of our employees is number one. And so sometimes we'll do what's called the DAVOX call, and we'll send it out, and you'll get a call saying, hey, from this time to this time, you could be out of power. Well, if your kids are home getting an education and your power goes out, that's a problem. If you're home working, which there's a lot more of that going on. So a lot of these more residential applications where we used to focus on, like, during the day, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, like, hey, you got a downtown area or a business, like something like this, a business development. You really try to do that work after hours.
Yeah.
But the residential, a lot of times nobody was home or somebody that was maybe sleeping because they worked overnight. It's like they're cool with like a 1 hour outage. So that's one of the biggest changes that on the residential side. And then, it has definitely changed the dynamic of our residential customer for sure.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's when you dealing with the everyday person who is, what kind of suggestions, would you have for them if they are, like you said, if people are approaching you about their bills and things like that, what kind of things do you suggest to them in order to help them regulate what they have? Now, does Swepco have like the average year?
Yeah, average monthly
like
plan. AMP, it's an AMP, and so it's it's great for levelizing your bill.
Yeah.
All right. It doesn't mean you pay any less. It just means that your spikes aren't there. So if you're trying to budget for a year and you don't want to have that spike in August and the spike in December if you have electric heat, then you can do average monthly payment. It's a great program, and a lot of my friends are on it. And it's just a great program specifically for budgeting and just kind of like not getting a surprise.
Yeah.
The other thing is it's been hot. People, like we talked about, people got their highest bill. Sometimes you just need a few days of grace. There's two different programs. There's a deferred payment plan, which is up to, I believe, 6 months.
Sure.
Where it's like, okay, look, you got this bill. You just can't pay it. Mm-hmm. You've got a good... people call me, I've been a Swepco customer for 20 years. This is the first time I can't make my payment. I've had a lot of calls like that. Okay. Look, you've been a good customer for 20 years. Yeah. Right? We're not just going to cut you off. You do need to call, though, or else we will cut you off.
Communicate,
But call us. Call the customer customer call center. And I know it's frustrating to get through some of those because I like to try to do online, but just call the call center. They will set you up on a plan, and what it'll do is it'll spread that out over 6 months.
Right.
So you got a $600 bill that you can't pay. Okay, let's take the next 6 months. It'll be $100 extra a month.
Sure.
But man, maybe
you can't pay those off early. Yeah, I've had to utilize it before.
That's right.
I've had to utilize it before where we had to extend those payments and get caught up in things like that as well. And there was time, hey, well, I've got the funds now. Let me just pay the rest of it out.
Because sometimes work is seasonal, right?
Yeah.
And maybe you're a teacher at a small school that doesn't have a summer program. It's like, look, summer, and that's when your bills are highest, right? And so if you haven't been able to plan accordingly, or life happens, man. People get sick, kids hurt themselves.
Sure.
What else has gone up? Everything.
I'm glad you said, because that was exactly what hasn't gone up. I'm trying to figure out what hasn't gone up.
We're all just trying to balance it, right? We're all just trying to figure out where our bank accounts are going right now. Yep. And so whether it's short terms, like, hey, I need 3 days, right? There's a grace period that could be built in, but you have to call us. Yeah. You have to set that up, or, hey, this is going to be a longer term, but you don't want to default on that, right? Because then that's kind of the option, right? It's the short term, it's the long term, and we want to be able to continue to provide that.
Yeah, definitely.
But if I don't pay my bill, all the other customers are really kind of picking up the slack.
Of course.
And so I can't take advantage of that system either. And so,
I'm glad for one that Swepco, has somebody with such an awesome face out here representing, and also too, I'm glad for all the things that Swepco is trying to put in place. I will say that I've grown in appreciation for Swepco over the last couple of years. I want to ask you one more thing, because I do now get the almost like the what is it?
Like an alert or something like that?
Well, no, in the mail, I get the option, the $3.99 option for the coverage for the...
the external home coverage,
the
home warranty. It's not home warranty. What is the
I don't know if you can speak on that. Can you...
HomeServe.
Is that a part of Swepco, or is that something that's
HomeServe is a contract base, so it is not Swepco. It is a separate insurance, but it's billed through our bill.
Gotcha.
And in fact, I was just talking to my mother-in-law last night about hers. So what I would say is... I'm not going to say for or against. I'm just going to give you a way to decide whether or not it's good for you. Yeah. I don't have it, but I told my mother-in-law she needs it, told my parents that they need it. If you live in an older home with mature trees and an overhead line, It's worth every bit of,
It
starts at like $5 or something like that. Give you an illustration. Like my parents had a limb come down. It grabbed the wire and ripped the meter base off of the house, right? $1,500 later.
Yee.
$1,500 later, that's a big deal. So if that happens to your house, and that happened to the neighbor's house, but if it happens to your house, right, then that's covered 100%, right? And so at the cost of whatever, I think might be $7 or $8, whatever it is, that's worth it. We just built a house several years ago, have an underground service.
Oh, yeah.
All right. We're right next to the transformers. There's no trees close enough to really do any damage or even root systems. And so I would say just balance that with if you feel like your system's in pretty good shape, then maybe it's just like any other insurance. You may not need it.
Sure.
But if you think you need it, it's probably worth it.
Gotcha.
But I don't like how often they send that. If I'm being transparent, they send. And I've communicated that to my team. It's like,
but I mean, I'm glad that they would keep it on my mind, because the first time I was like, and then after you get it again, you're like, well, wait a minute. We've had all these storms. We have different things happen, and I've seen houses where the meter is almost. And I'm like, okay, that's an expensive.
The city won't allow us to re-energize those meters until they've got a green tag.
So you have to have it. So it is something I don't think that is too much. I'll communicate from the everyday person. I think it's. At first I thought it was excessive. Then I was like, well, you know what? This really could be a benefit for $5 a month.
Well, and your insurance, your home insurance doesn't cover it, right? And so, I don't think your home warranty might, if you have that. You need to check that.
I don't think so.
But I've had people come up to me and tell me that they used it, and tell me that the contractor that came out was fantastic and it was super quick. And so the people that have used it really, really liked it.
Gotcha.
So it's
Well, man, we're coming kind of close to the end of our time, man. But I wanted to your hands on a lot. You get a chance to go experience a lot here. As a matter of fact, I laughed at a video I saw with you in it. John Newstad posted when y'all were out
cardboard boat race.
No, I was going to ask about that. No, I didn't even get a chance to see that. I was talking about the Sabine.
Oh, the Sabine.
I saw you try
to
dive in the water. I was like, who taught this man how to swim?
Oh,
no, but I mean, I was like, he must have grown up in Corpus Christi. He jumping off of logs and stuff like
water,
that. Yeah. But how was that experience for you? That I know they're trying to revitalize Sabine and almost make it a park.
So the Sabine River is interesting because we should just come out and say it's ugly.
Yeah.
Because the water's brown or whatever. But man, when you get on it, it's amazing. So you can start up at 42 or even farther, go up through Gladewater, start there, and you can go all the way. You can take the Sabine all the way till it turns into salt water.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how far it goes. There's some pretty neat books that have been written about it. But it's right in the middle of our area, but nobody's ever really been on, unless you're like gar fishermen or something like that. But we took a group of, oh my gosh, I forget. It was like 20, 25 people, something like that. And everybody got on kayaks and got out there. I took my son with me, and he rolled over on one of the falls.
Oh, I think I saw him in the water.
He was like,
I think I saw him in the water.
But man, it was a good time. It was there's some sandy beaches of sandbars. It's like having a beach out there. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's more about the camaraderie, and it's about having something there that most people would look at and say, and turn like, well, go experience. And if you still feel like that, then maybe it's not your cup of tea. But man, it is a nice drift.
To me, that makes it a hidden gem.
It does.
And that was kind of my question. Are there any other hidden gems that you would say, that are here in our area that people may not know about, that you've experienced, and you're like, oh, I really like this,
Yeah, I think you need to. So in East Texas, it's a lot of outdoors, right? It's a lot of the lakes, the rivers, the pine trees, the walkways. If you haven't been down Borman Trail, if you have a dog, a kid, bikes, stroller, or you just need to get some exercise, go down Borman Trail. Do yourself a favor. Like, I forget how many continuous miles it is. Lear Park. Yeah. There's a little pond back there. Most people don't know you can go fishing back there.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you didn't know. See, I taught you one thing today.
Lear Park.
Yeah. Over back behind Kids View.
Yeah.
Back over there. Yeah. They got some bass back there.
So was it past the
between the field, the Kids View, and the splash pad? There's a little path that goes back there. It's got a little fishing sign and everything.
I didn't know that. Come on, Longview. Y'all should have been putting, as much as I'm over there. I mean, we did splash pad like every day this summer.
But
And never saw it.
Yeah. And every once in a while, you'll see a guy with the fishing pole just like walking back there.
Know that. Interesting.
Yeah, man, I say basketball, and you and I, we play basketball a lot. But, man, you go to McWhorter Park, go play some ball.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's hot right now. But, man, when it cools off, go out there, play some ball.
Sure.
There's been some nice recondition,
Yeah, McWhorter Park looks great.
Yeah,
it looks
they've
great.
poured some money into our parks. I would say those are the hidden gems. And then it's just the people. Like that illustration I said about, wow, y'all are wide open here. Well, we can be because people are nice here.
Yeah.
We love each other here. And man, I think that the world doesn't want to be divided, but there are certain organizations from media and political organizations that benefit from us being divided. But man, we have so much more in common than we have in difference.
Definitely.
So I, what I would encourage, as we're looking at, these special opportunities, invite somebody that doesn't believe like you, doesn't look like you, doesn't act like you. Invite them to come. I mean, you invited me on your podcast. Hey, I don't know if you noticed, we don't look exactly alike, Mike. I mean, other than being wonderful, beautiful looking human being, we're a little bit different.
Yeah.
But you know what? I don't even like to see it because,
to me, it's okay to acknowledge. I mean, hey, look, we are, and I also have to. I'll tell you what happens when you do embrace the opportunity of being around somebody that you aren't necessarily. Maybe you don't look alike, or you may not have the same beliefs, or you don't come from the same background. When you're around them more, those things start to become a norm to you. See, my first cousins, if you looked at them, you would think that they were white. Like,
right.
I mean, so
the lighter color, huh?
And we spent all of our time. I mean, like all of their traits, they look white.
Okay.
Even though they're mixed, half black, half white. They
right.
look. So when I grew up, we wanted to spend every day together. So when I started recognizing, I told my wife the other day, it was so weird because where they were, there was a lot of racism.
Sure.
And me and my cousin, we would sit up and we talked. There was two girls that he liked. One of them, her parents didn't like him.
Right.
Because they found out that his dad.
Oh, really? So they found out. So it's like
because if you look at him, you wouldn't tell. But in my mind, I told my wife, I said, some things they don't register me.
Sure.
To the same.
That's
because
fantastic.
we've had such a time. I've had such a time with my cousins who don't necessarily look like me, but I mean we were almost inseparable growing up. So now when it comes to relationship with other people, when I see you as a white man and I'm a black man, it's not.
But you don't think about it, right?
Though, I have to get up.
Right.
It's because of the time that I've spent. It feels like there's something that's removed from between us, even though I can look at you like my cousin, I can look and say, "Oh, we look different," and it's okay. Like, hey, we look different, but like you said, underneath we've got more in common than we do
100%.
Than we don't have.
So many more important things. Yeah, I sat down with Eric Love and LaDarian Brown separately. Oh, is he really? Man, I love that man. And just the conversation, like he said, you invest enough time in that conversation and spending time. There's things that he's experienced I've never had to, and never will have to experience. But that was in his lifetime, and it's things that I think I'm reading history books.
Yeah,
it's his life. It's what he experienced growing up in his grandmother's house. And LaDarian, same thing. Yeah, it's like, no, that happened last week.
Yeah.
Right. It's not. And for me, I'm thinking of it as so we have to be intentional about spending more time with people that, again, maybe we're different. Everybody's different, man.
Exactly.
In fact, I kind of like unique people because this is the spice of life. It's like we're all the same and we get real boring. But let's spend time. So, as we look for these things in our community, I think what's even more important is that we take that grace that we extend to each other and we make sure that we push it into experiences and say, hey, why weren't you on the kayak trip with me? Why aren't you coming to this event? When I look at the boards that I serve on, I can't tell you how many times I say, hey, we look an awful lot alike on this board.
Yeah.
And that's why I would love to have you come and serve on a board, because not only do you have wisdom and you have the ability to bring something to that organization, it may just be something that they need because they've not been exposed to what you've been exposed to.
Exactly. And I think that's super important, and I think that's a great note for us to cap off on. Mark, man, I appreciate everything that I see you do. It is inspirational to me to get out, even though I'm not getting paid for it like you.
It's my job.
I need to have some more. I was about to say external affairs, but then that sounds bad too. I need to get out and about in the community. Right. One wife. Promise.
Happy wife.
Yeah.
Happy life.
Yeah. There we go. So man, I appreciate everything about you, man. I appreciate your family, man. A man of God. I appreciate your, you push me even on the basketball floor.
Yes, sir.
Because you run.
Likewise. Let's go, baby.
You run up and down the floor. And and when I played ball in high school, that's all I was known for, was just running.
Right, just
run
hustle.
to get open, shoot. And then those young guys came, and I thought that,
like when Jairus and Joseph
they
come,
just
like,
run.
no.
It's like, oh, shoot,
I can't hang with these guys.
Because I used to come back from college, and I was like,
40 years old.
I'm beating these guys. I'm beating all the guys I used to look up to, and now they're doing me like I used to do.
It's
other
wrong.
people. Like, oh man, I see. I need to take it up another level, man. But honestly, in all things, man, I greatly appreciate the person that you are. On and off the court, I appreciate you being somebody of high integrity, great character, because I can look up and say, oh, I know this person, and not be afraid that
but don't hold it against me.
Yeah. And man, you like to I don't know if you like to, but you back in the parking spots, man. I'm always I'm glad to see somebody else that backs in the parking spots. It's you got to back out either way.
Yeah,
you got to back up either way. You gonna do it on the front end or do it on the back end.
That's right. At least this way you get to see the spot before you back in.
There you go. There you go.
Man.
Yeah. No, man. Well, anything else you feel like people should know about? Anything that we left out today that you like to touch on?
No. I think we covered so much, and I feel like we could go for
we could
2 more hours. That's the thing, right? You just got to stop at some point.
Yeah, we could.
But I say just I love East Texas. I love Longview specifically as a community to raise your kids in, to raise a family, to work in. And so when it comes to like recruiting young professionals to this area, man, there's a lot to do here. And you have access to Dallas. You drive 2 hours, get to Dallas, Shreveport. You could fly, whatever you need to do. But there's something about coming home and just spending time with the community where if I go to the restaurant, I'm going to know somebody's name there. We 85,000 people probably. But I know, I'm going to run into somebody.
Sure.
And so I would say if you're outside of our area and you're looking for a good place to live where people love to be free, they love each other, they love God, they treat each other right, hey, come to Longview. Give us a shot, man.
Yeah,
There's a lot of industry here. I know a guy who could hook you up with a home and sell you a house.
Good guy, too. Good guy, man.
Yeah,
good
that's right.
It'll be a great experience.
Come visit us. See how you like it. But
I think that's a good pitch for our area, and I think that Longview has a lot to offer. It's hard to think about moving anywhere. We don't have a lot of traffic, y'all.
Oh, man,
you get
it's so good.
Without getting bogged down in traffic. That's that's probably the main thing that keeps me here. I don't have to get Tyler is even getting to the place where it's like, man, getting on the loop.
It is, man.
Rush hour.
It is. And Longview's built out their roads enough, and there's multiple ways to get everywhere you need to go. It's not just one highway or one. We got Loop 281, but you got your McCanns, your Hawkins, your H.D. Mosleys, right? You can kind of pull off if one's getting. And it's so. I drive out to East Mountain every night to go home and back in, and I'm telling you, I just feel the weight come off. That's my decompression time. Is traffic. What most people will sit in an hour in Houston or Austin or Dallas, and they give up 2 hours of their life, one there and one back. Man, no, I'm good. I'll take 15 minutes to get home. Let me decompress, and then I can re-engage with my family when I get home.
Longview, y'all may owe us, if we get a flood of people coming in
Let's
here,
go,
y'all
Longview.
may owe us some referral fees something like that. We just pitched Longview to everybody. No, man, but hey, Mark, again, I greatly appreciate it. Swepco.com, y'all, tons of information there.
Please.
If you're thinking about buying or selling your home, you can go to thesuccessestate.com. Also, too, you can find this podcast both on YouTube, Spotify, and any other place that you get podcasts. You can find this episode. We would greatly appreciate it if you would share, not just so that the podcast can get bigger. I would greatly appreciate that, but the information that we received today, y'all, is going to be super beneficial for a lot of people, and more people should know about it. Martin House, we look forward to having you on. Thank you for all the boards and everything that you're sitting on. And if y'all have suggestions of people that you would like in our area, it doesn't have to just be Longview, East Texas. If you have suggestions of people that you think would be interesting and have a great conversation with, please feel free to comment and suggest them as well. We will be back next week. We're in season 4. We'll be back next week with another great guest. So subscribe, like, and share, and we'll see y'all then. Mark, thank you, buddy.
Have a great day.
All right.
Let's see you.
Thank you. All right.